That's me, but not today. I have never completed a sketchbook, obviously, and I think that's pretty common, but that ends now. I'm talking to all of you traditional artists, okay? You're all guilty, don't even try to deny it. You all just need some inspiration. I volunteer as tribute! Today I'm completing an entire sketchbook. No, I did not actually go out and buy another sketchbook for this. I made this sketchbook out of paper from another sketchbook I have, and I linked the tutorial I used if you want to learn how to do that. I had exactly 10 hours to complete this sketchbook, so I used my husband's math skills to create a 25-page sketchbook, and I will spend only 12 minutes per page to sketch a portrait. And so let's get stuck right into it. At the end, I'll show a comparison of my drawings versus the Pinterest references I was using to let you see how close I was able to get in 12 minutes. Let's all keep that in mind, I only had 12 minutes per drawing. And just to make me feel a bit better about myself, I had my husband try to do just one drawing in 12 minutes, and here's how his turned out. Everyone's on their own art journey. He's actually not, though. This 10-hour sketchbook challenge was created by Miranda Watson Alkali Creek Art, and there are several other art channels participating, and they'll all be linked in the description so you can check out what they did for this challenge. The main goal was to work in a sketchbook for 10 hours, and however we decided to interpret that was up to us. I chose graphite for this so I could try to focus on proportions and values. I think using markers or paint would make this even more challenging because you don't have the advantage of erasing. Big brain. Here I was planning on just putting the timer on screen for the rest of the drawings, but I didn't do that after a while, so yeah. Now that you've got an idea of what these look like, I want to take a moment to make it absolutely clear, if it wasn't already. I am not a professional artist, I didn't go to school for it, I do not claim to be a tutorial channel. I am a 32-year-old stay-at-home married lady with 2 kids who likes to draw. If you can relate to any of those criteria, you might enjoy my videos. Seriously though, I'm just having fun with art and sharing my journey, including all the embarrassing failures, with the world. Is that a good idea? Most of these are, okay, they're pretty embarrassing, but I try to keep reminding myself of this. Okay, I got a question for you. You remember the drawing that you did in 12 minutes?
Yeah.
Is it okay with you if I make fun of your art in my video for the sake of humor?
You gotta have my consent?
No, but...
I guess.
Is it gonna hurt your feelings?
No.
Okay.
I'm a terrible artist and I was kind of forced into it anyway.
You were not forced into it. You did it willingly.
I willingly did.
Say you did it willingly.
I did it willingly. I wanted to draw that picture.
Good.
Is that what you wanted me to say? You told me to say?
No, you're saying this all.
That's right. That's exactly how I feel about it.
Okay.
Myself.
Okay, thank you. Love you. But also that I only had 12 minutes per drawing, and I know I could do better if I had more time. No, yeah, I definitely could. An absolutely invaluable tool I used for this challenge was a workable fixative, which you can get at Walmart or Amazon. I'll link it in my description. You just spray it on the drawing in a well-ventilated area. This stuff is strong. And once it dries, your drawing won't smudge. I like big eyes on my characters, so I leaned into that. And a tip I picked up from a Skillshare class was to start by drawing the outline and getting the face shape in first to help with the placement of the features. I didn't do that every time because I tend to not have a set technique and just kind of jump around trying different things, but it seemed to be the most helpful. Here's a little behind the scenes. Sometimes I'd have to pause my drawing to switch my camera batteries out. If you use a camera that takes regular batteries like mine and not a battery pack, I highly suggest investing in some rechargeable batteries. My camera burns through batteries like crazy, and I could not imagine having to rebuy them every time. I also recommend getting at least 2 of the recharging docks. I have a couple of these docks, and they can recharge AA and AAA rechargeable batteries. I've had these same batteries and docks for over a year, and I've never had any issues. They have a red light that shows they're charging, and the light turns green when they're all done. I'll link it all below if anyone's interested. I'm not sure where this point of the voiceover will be on the footage, but I'm sure you've seen many times already that sometimes I draw the eyes last, and honestly I have no idea why I do that. Normally I draw the eyes pretty early on, but for some unknown reason I was just putting them off to the last minute. Most of the time I would do the face shape first and then put the nose and mouth in, and then it would be time to readjust the face shape because I drew the nose and mouth entirely too big, and those would take too long to redraw, so yeah. I also learned from Sam Does Arts that if you hold your hand over a part of the drawing, say the left eye, based on where the right eye is, you should be able to visualize where the left eye should be and fix it. Assuming it was in the wrong place to begin with, like mine usually were. Here's some proof no one asked for. This is all my uncut footage placed in Filmora, and there you can see the runtime is almost 11 hours. So I tried to only film while drawing, but of course some extra stuff got recorded that didn't count towards the 10-hour challenge. I also didn't include the time it took for me to make the sketchbook, which was at least an hour if not more. Of course that was not required. I did have other sketchbooks that I could have used, but the smallest was 70 sheets, which would have meant doing front and backs of all the pages I'd have had only. Babe! 4.2 minutes! 12 was short enough, thank you. So yeah, I made a sketchbook just for this challenge. And the editing time, ugh! I had to speed everything up, obviously. Normally I like to have some real-time drawing footage, but it just wasn't realistic for this video. You might also notice some parts where I had to pause my timer, and that's because I got kids and I'm the default parent, you guys. I am not getting through all 50 drawings uninterrupted. All jokes aside. Okay, not all of you, some can stay. I finished the entire sketchbook over a 3-day period, and that is very noticeable on the first sketches of each days. There are plenty of sketches that were well into a drawing session that were still questionable, but we're not talking about those right now. For some incredibly smart reason, I started most of the spreads on the left-hand side of the sketchbook, and since I'm left-handed, I'd have to spray the page and wait for it to dry before I did the right-hand page, you know, so I wouldn't smudge the left side. But wouldn't you know it, if I just did the right side first, I could wait to spray the two pages together once they were finished. Even after I realized this, I still sometimes started on the left side of the spread. I was using mainly an HB pencil to do the initial sketch, and then I darken it up with a 4B and a 12B. I've always loved graphite drawings because they're so quick. You can say that again. So quick, and it's like an instant gratification for me. Whereas with watercolors, it takes a while before I'm really happy with the piece. I think some of the main benefits of graphite pencil drawings are that pencils are super cheap, and even if you don't have a set of them, maybe you just have a mechanical pencil, you can get a really nice variety in tone just by pressing harder. I decided pretty early on that I wasn't going to spend too much time on the hair details of each drawing, just filling in the main silhouette and maybe adding a hint of texture here and there. I probably will revisit some of these portraits because I think some of the hairstyles were super cute and I'd like to attempt them in more detail. Sometimes I'd end up with like 40 seconds left and I wasn't sure what to do, so I just let the clock run out. And other times I'd get down to only 4 minutes left and I hadn't even drawn the eyes yet. I noticed as I got closer to the end of the sketchbook, the face shapes were getting a little easier to get right on the first go, and I was taking more time on the facial features, trying to get the placements just right so I wouldn't have to waste time trying to readjust them. This spread right here, I was so happy with this and was like, yes, it can only go up from here. And then this was my first sketch of the next day. I even wrote first day on the bottom of the page, like I was trying to reassure myself of something. I tried to find a lot of different references, but in case you've never been on Pinterest, there's an abundance of what are called Pinterest girls. They kind of all have this blank stare expression, and the focus is mainly on their makeup or just how pretty they are, which is fine. I chose a lot of those for this sketchbook, but I really wanted to push myself out of my comfort zone, so I included references of men, which I rarely ever draw, and I tried to find lots of different angles of the face. Even though a lot of the expressions are still kind of blah. In this drawing, even though I didn't finish his neck or shirt, I was really happy with how his face came out, especially the curvature of the eyes. I wonder if I had done just straight on blank face references, how the progression of those would have looked. It probably wouldn't be as fun to watch, but I bet an exercise like that would really teach you something. Not me, you. I already did this. I would end up being really excited for how my sketches would turn out, only to ruin them when I was shading. Like this guy, for example. I thought he looked really good, and then I completely botched it when I was shading his lips. What is that? I think I was just at or over halfway through at this point. If you are still here at this point in the video, leave an artsy pineapple in the comments. I know this is way longer than most of my videos, well, all of my videos. But guys, it's 50 drawings. I don't do that many drawings in a year normally. Oh, now I want to talk about one of the most common art tips I hear, which is to draw every day if you want to improve. I was thinking about this a lot while doing this challenge. You've probably heard that to get better at art, you need to practice every day, whether that's 10 minutes or an hour or whatever. And I'm sure you've heard plenty of art YouTubers say how that's actually not good advice and that just mindlessly drawing every day will not actually be helpful. Drawing every day can be helpful to get you into a good routine, get you more confident in your sketches or line art, but I found through this experience that there is some truth to it not being a good idea. You shouldn't just mindlessly draw. I mean, if you like to doodle just for fun, that's totally okay, but if you really want to improve and make better drawings, you should try to figure out what you're having the most trouble with, just one thing, and then do some research on that one thing on how to correct it. So if you want to draw better portraits, don't just sit down and draw 50 portraits in 10 hours. I do show some improvement, but with every portrait I would still have to erase and redraw over and over the same things I had problems with on a previous portrait, so I didn't really learn anything. Something I'll be looking into soon is better understanding of how to draw the mouth, different angles, how it sits on the face. You know, I really had a hard time with that all the way through this sketchbook. Because even though I drew 50 mouths at a bunch of different angles, I didn't really learn anything. This challenge was more just about how much you can get done in a sketchbook in 10 hours, and since like I said in the beginning of the video, I have never completed a sketchbook. I took this challenge as my opportunity to finally do that. Obviously, I didn't take my own advice here. I should have stopped to look up some tutorials on how to properly draw the mouth, but I was on a bit of time crunch for this video, and that's really no excuse. I feel like my drawings would have been a lot better, but anyways. There's still a bunch of drawings left at this point, and I've already talked your ear off, so please enjoy watching me sketch them out, and I'll see you at the end. Please stay till the end, this took so long. By the way, I don't actually keep all my sketchbooks in a big pile on the floor. I'm an artist, okay? I'm not a monster. But seriously, $15 on sale for 3. $8 on sale for $2. And this one was like $5 from Walmart. It has 120 sheets. Who can pass up that deal? It's bigger than my head. But that ends now. Why did I use my knuckles? big brain, big brain, big brain, big brain, big brain.